worse than saying it out loud. My name is not important, but my son's name was Eddie. Was curious, stubborn, and always distracted by animals, especially dogs. That day, we went shopping after school to buy shoes and a jacket. Nothing special, just another routine afternoon. The shopping area was busy but normal, with people walking fast and cars stopping and starting near the sidewalks. Eddie stayed close to me at first, walking beside the cart, asking questions I barely answered because I was tired and focused on finishing quickly. I remember checking prices and thinking about dinner, not paying enough attention to anything else. Near the parking lot entrance, Eddie stopped walking. A stray dog was sitting near a trash bin, calm and quiet with dirty fur and soft eyes. The dog looked friendly, but what caught my attention was how he was watching Eddie. The dog stood up slowly and took 2 steps closer, close enough that I could see its eyes clearly. They were too focused, fixed on Eddie without blinking. The dog did not bark, did not move its head, and did not react to the noise around us. Eddie crouched and smiled, already asking if we could take it home. I told him no right away and pulled the cart forward. I said it was not safe and that we did not have time. He followed me slowly, turning around to look at the dog again, and I did not stop to make sure he was still right behind me. As we moved forward, I looked back once. The dog had not followed us, but it had turned its head and was still staring in our direction, completely still as if waiting. Inside the store, everything felt normal for a few minutes. I stood in line, paid for the shoes, and listened to the cashier talk about discounts I did not care about. My phone buzzed in my pocket, but I ignored it because I wanted to leave. When I turned around to tell Eddie we were done, he was not there. At first, I thought he had stepped a few feet away, maybe to look at toys or displays near the entrance. I called his name in a normal voice and waited. Nothing happened. I walked toward the door and looked outside, expecting to see him standing near the car or the sidewalk. He was nowhere. My breathing started to change as I walked faster, calling his name louder, checking every corner he could have reached. I asked employees if they had seen a boy in a blue hoodie. They all shook their heads. The noise around me grew louder, and my hands started shaking as I realized too much time had passed. At the edge of the park, I saw the narrow alley between 2 buildings. It led away from the street, dark, even during the afternoon. I did not want to go there, but my body moved before I could stop it. Before stepping into the alley, I stopped and listened, trying to hear anything familiar, but there were no voices and no footsteps coming from inside. My heart was beating so hard I could feel it in my throat, and my hands were wet with sweat as I took a step forward. A few meters in, I saw one of Eddie's sneakers lying on the ground. It was on its side, still tied, not thrown, not crushed. My stomach dropped and my legs felt weak as I picked it up. The shoe was warm, and that detail made my chest tighten because it meant he had been there moments before. From that moment, fear took control. My thoughts became loud and messy, and I could not slow them down. I started calling his name over and over, louder each time, my voice breaking as I moved deeper into the alley without thinking about danger. At the end of the alley, something was moving. At first, my mind tried to force the image into something familiar, and I recognized the same color of the dog, the same shape of the head, and the same bent ear. The dog stood up, taller than any person. Its body twisted and wrong with legs bent backwards and shoulders in a way no dog should. The creature turned toward me, and I saw the same eyes I had seen earlier, unchanged, fixed, and focused. Its mouth was wider now, its teeth wrong, chewing slowly with blood running down its chin. I froze because my body refused to move, and fear became heavy and sharp, pressing down on me until breathing felt like work. The thing turned toward me, chewing slowly, blood covering its mouth, not rushing, not hiding. Before it moved, my vision blurred, and my ears rang as panic took full control. I recognized the fur, the color, and the shape of the head, and that realization hit me harder than fear itself. This was the same dog my son had touched minutes earlier, the same one that had waited quietly near the trash bin. My body reacted late because part of my brain still tried to reject what my eyes were seeing. The creature suddenly rushed forward, faster than I expected, its movements heavy and certain like it already knew I could not stop it. As it closed the distance, I saw its face clearly, stretched and wrong, but with the same fixed eyes that had stared at Eddie in the parking lot. I felt a sharp, tearing pain as its claws ripped into my forearm, pulling skin and flesh apart with force, and the impact sent me crashing hard against the wall. I fell to the ground screaming, pressing my back against the cold surface, watching it pass me instead of finishing the attack. As it moved away, it spat something onto the ground near my feet. It was a small plastic dinosaur, dirty and wet, one I recognized instantly, and that moment broke something inside me because there was no doubt left about what it had done. My body shook uncontrollably as blood soaked through my sleeve and my arm burned and throbbed with every heartbeat. I tried to stand and failed, my legs refusing to support my weight. I dragged myself forward using one arm, crying loudly, calling Eddie's name again and again, even though I already knew there would be no answer. The creature ran toward the street, dropping to all fours as it moved, its steps louder and heavy, moving exactly like the animal it had pretended to be before. I heard distant screams and sudden car horns as it disappeared, leaving me bleeding and broken in the alley, unable to follow and unable to look away from what it had left behind. Before the ambulance arrived, I sat on the curb, shaking violently, unable to stop crying or focus on the voices around me. My arm was wrapped in cloth, but blood kept seeping through, and every movement sent pain through my body. The police asked questions while the medics worked, speaking quickly and calmly as if this was normal. I tried to explain what I saw, struggling to find words, my voice weak and uneven. When I described the creature, their expressions changed, and they stopped writing. They searched the alley and found blood. Too much to explain, but they did not find Eddie. The word missing followed every report, every call, every update. No one said dead, but no one said alive either. Days turned into weeks filled with interviews, searches, and posters. I replayed every second in my head, blaming myself for looking away, for saying no to the dog without holding his hand, for not noticing sooner that he was gone. At night, my arm ached, and the scar pulled and burned for no reason. Sleep became short and shallow, filled with images I could not escape. Eddie was declared missing, not dead, and that word follows me everywhere I go. I moved away and changed everything I could, but nothing feels safe anymore. I avoid dogs. I can't look at their eyes, and I watch children closely, even when they are not mine.
Carol and I wanted to go on a weekend getaway, somewhere quiet. We were driving on a rural highway late at night. I was tired, but I didn't say it out loud. Carol had been looking forward to this trip for months, and I didn't want to ruin it before it even started. The road was narrow with no lights, no houses, and no signs for miles. Just asphalt, fields, and darkness. The engine noise was steady, but every bump made me grip the wheel harder. Carol leaned back in her seat, scrolling through photos she had saved for the trip, talking about places we'd stop at. I answered when I had to, but my attention stayed on the road. We hadn't seen another car in a long time. That alone made me uneasy, even if I didn't fully admit it to myself. There's something about being completely alone on a road that makes every decision feel heavier. Stopping, speeding up, even changing lanes feels like it matters more than usual. And that's when the headlights caught a small figure on the side of the road. At first, I thought it was an animal. My foot eased off the gas without me thinking about it. As we got closer, the shape didn't move away. It stood upright, too still, right at the edge of the asphalt. Carol leaned forward, squinting through the windshield. It was a child. A boy, alone, barefoot, wearing clothes that didn't match the cold air. He didn't wave or step back. He just watched the car approach, his arms hanging straight down like he was waiting for something to happen. Before stopping, there was a long second where neither of us spoke. I felt my chest tighten and my hands started to sweat on the steering wheel. Every instinct told me this was a bad idea, but I ignored it because the alternative felt worse. I pulled over. The boy climbed into the back seat without hesitation. He didn't ask if it was okay. He didn't say thank you. He sat straight, his hands on his knees, his eyes fixed forward. When he spoke, his voice was flat and slow, like he was repeating words he had learned recently. He said his mom was coming. The silence after that felt wrong. Not quiet in a peaceful way, but heavy, like we were all holding our breath. I checked the mirror again and again. The boy's eyes never left me. He didn't blink, not once. My skin started to crawl, and I felt my heart picking up speed. Carol tried to talk to him, asking him where he came from and where his mom was. His answers were short and off. He didn't explain anything. He didn't react the way kids usually do. No fear, no confusion, no emotion at all. Just words, spaced out, carefully placed. Before anything happened, there was a stretch of road that felt endless. The darkness ahead seemed thicker, even though nothing had changed. I realized I was holding my breath and forced myself to breathe again. My hands were shaking now, and I tightened my grip on the wheel to hide it. The boy finally said his mom was close. He said she was running. I asked how she could keep up with the car. He didn't answer. Carol turned to look at him, and that's when he smiled. His eyes blinked, one at a time. His breathing became shallow without me noticing. His shoulders were tight, almost locked in place, and my jaw hurt from watching him clench his. I kept adjusting my grip on the wheel because my palms were slick with sweat. Every few seconds I checked the mirrors again, even though nothing new appeared. Carol noticed my tension and asked if I was okay, but my voice came out stiff when I answered. I didn't feel okay, and my body reacted faster than my thoughts could keep up. My stomach dropped hard, and fear hit me all at once. Not panic, not screaming fear, but the kind that makes your body go cold. I looked back at the road, and my foot pressed down on the gas without me deciding to do it. In the headlights, something appeared behind us, low to the ground, fast, moving in a way that made no sense. It ran on all fours, but its body didn't move like an animal. Its head stayed level, locked on the car, while the rest of it stretched and contracted with each step. Before the impact, everything sharpened. The sound of the engine, Carol breathing fast, my own pulse pounding in my ears. I could feel how weak we were inside that car, how thin the doors suddenly felt. The thing opened its mouth as it ran. I saw teeth meant to tear, not chew. The boy in the back seat let out a short laugh, and his body started to change. His limbs bent wrong, his shape shifted, skin pulling tight over moving bone. I swerved, too late. As the creature closed the distance, my vision narrowed. I couldn't focus on anything except the shape behind us and the road directly ahead. My arms felt weak, like they might stop responding at any moment, and I had to force them to keep steering straight. My foot pressed harder on the gas, my leg trembling from the effort. Carol grabbed the handle above the door, her knuckles turning white, her breathing fast and uneven. The car left the road and crashed hard into the ditch. Metal screamed, glass shattered, and my head slammed forward. When I came back to myself, everything hurt, and the world felt tilted. Carol was screaming my name, and that sound snapped me into motion. Before I could reach her, weight slammed into the hood. The windshield cracked under the pressure, spreading lines across the glass. The creature's face pressed close, its features twisted, stretched into something almost human, but not enough to be mistaken. It ripped the passenger door open and grabbed Carol. She fought, kicking and clawing, her fear loud and real. I tried to move faster, but my leg wouldn't work right. I dragged myself across the seat, useless, watching every second pass. The creature pulled her out onto the road. I heard her head hit the asphalt. I screamed until my throat burned. Then headlights flooded everything. and a pickup truck hit the creature at full speed. Bone broke. The impact threw it into the trees. At the edge of the forest, the boy stood watching, his face twisted in panic before he ran into the dark. Pain shot through my leg when I tried to stand, sharp and immediate, making me gasp out loud. My hands slipped on the seat fabric as I dragged myself forward, every movement slow and clumsy. I could feel my heart slamming against my ribs, hard enough to hurt. My mouth was dry, my tongue heavy, and I couldn't form words fast enough to call Carol's name again as she was pulled farther away from me. People arrived quickly after that. Sirens, voices, hands pulling me away from the wreck. Carol was alive, barely, her body torn and bleeding. I couldn't stop shaking, even when they wrapped a blanket around me. They asked questions. I answered some of them, not all. The story became an animal attack. Everyone agreed on that because it was easier. The driver swore he hit a deer. No one argued. No one searched the forest for long. No body was found. No explanation was needed. I knew better, but I stayed quiet. Carol survived, but parts of that night are gone from her memory. Doctors say trauma does that. I don't correct them. It's better this way. I don't drive on rural highways anymore. I avoid empty roads. I avoid places where help is far away. I stay where people are, even if I don't talk to them.
My friends Leon and Sean and I wanted to go to the woods for a few days to clear our minds and have new adventures. We went to a much more remote forest about which there are several urban legends, but that's the case with almost all forests, and we didn't believe in those things. The road to the camping area was narrow and poorly marked. There were no other cars, no cabins, no signs of recent activity. Our phones lost signal long before we arrived. I noticed it and felt uneasy, but I didn't say anything. I didn't want to be the one who complained over nothing. We set up camp quickly. 2 tents, the fire pit, a small table. The forest around us looked normal, but it felt empty. I told myself it was just a quiet place. As night fell, it disappeared into the dark. At first I wasn't worried. A few minutes passed closer to the trees, calling out louder. The flashlight beam from Leon was gone. The forest stayed silent. That silence began to feel heavy, like it was pressing down on us. We waited longer than we should have. When we finally heard something, it wasn't a voice calling back. It was a low, broken sound, uneven and strained, coming from deeper in the woods. We followed the sound together, moving slowly. My hands were shaking and my chest felt tight. I kept thinking that whatever we were about to find wasn't going to be simple or easy. We found Leon on the ground near a fallen tree. The moment I saw him, panic hit me hard. His clothes were torn. His skin was scraped and dirty. His face looked swollen, wrong in a way I couldn't ignore. He was alive, but barely responsive. Sean dropped beside him, calling his name over and over. Leon tried to speak, but the words came out slow and broken. His breathing was uneven, and his eyes wouldn't focus properly. I felt sick just looking at him. Getting him back to camp was difficult. He leaned heavily on us, barely able to stand. Every step made him let out weak sounds of pain. My heart was racing, and I kept turning around, afraid something would come out of the trees behind us. Before anything else happened, like it was holding its breath, a noise came from behind the camp, slow and uneven, like someone moving carefully. Fear hit me instantly, sharp enough to make my stomach drop. I looked at Sean, then at the injured Leon on the ground. Leaving them felt wrong, but staying felt worse. I told Sean not to move and stepped toward the sound. I walked into the trees with the flashlight shaking in my hand. My breathing was loud, rushed, and completely out of control. Every few steps I stopped, listening, forcing myself forward even though my legs felt weak. Then someone stepped into the light. It was Leon, clean, unharmed, standing upright, my mind locked up, unable to process what I was seeing. Relief and confusion crashed together so hard it made me dizzy. He spoke fast, explaining that he had gotten lost, that something chased him deep into the woods, something that didn't move right. He said he hid, ran, and kept moving until he was sure it was gone. His voice shook, and this time it sounded real. I told him we already found him and that he was hurt back at camp. Leon's face changed immediately. Fear replaced confusion. He grabbed my copy voices and shapes. His grip was weak, his hand trembling badly. He tried to move faster, but his legs gave out. He stumbled, breathing hard, barely able to stay standing. I didn't stop. I pulled my arm free and ran. Sean screamed. I ran alone, branches hitting my face and arms as I pushed through the trees. Leon shouted my name behind me, his voice breaking, telling me to stop, telling me not to go back. He couldn't keep up. The scream from the camp drowned everything else. When I reached the firelight, the scene was already destroyed. The blanket lay empty on the ground. Sean was on his knees, dragging himself backward in the dirt. The thing that had been sitting with us wore Leon's face, but its body moved wrong now. Joints bending too far, head tilted unnaturally. Sean tried to scream again, but the sound cut off when the creature grabbed him by the throat. I shouted without thinking, throwing a rock that hit its shoulder and did nothing. It turned its head toward me slowly, eyes calm and focused. There was a brief pause where everything felt unbearably clear. Sean's legs kicked weakly. The creature's skin shifted, struggling to stay in shape. Then it released him and charged toward me. I stumbled and fell hard, knocking the air out of my lungs. It was on me immediately, heavy and cold, pressing me into the ground. Its face was inches from mine, skin stretched tight, mouth opening wider than it should. I hit the ground hard, the air leaving my lungs in dry gasps. The creature was on me immediately, its weight crushing my chest, pinning my arms uselessly against the dirt. I couldn't push it away. I couldn't reach for anything. My hands slipped on the ground as I tried to move, panic flooding my body so fast I couldn't think. Its face was inches from mine, wearing Leon's features stretched too tight, eyes fixed on me without emotion. Its mouth opened wider than it should have, and a wet, uneven sound came from deep inside its throat. I kicked blindly, my heel scraping against its leg, doing nothing to slow it down. I knew with absolute clarity that I was not strong enough to stop it. A sound behind it pulled its attention away. The real Leon screamed my name from the edge of the trees. The creature froze for a second, then slowly lifted its weight off me. I didn't wait to understand why. I rolled onto my side and crawled away, my body shaking so badly I could barely move. The creature turned away from me and grabbed Sean's body, dragging him across the ground toward the trees. It didn't rush, it didn't struggle. It took her like it had already decided this is how it would end. I forced myself up and ran, grabbing Leon as he stumbled toward me. We reached the car without looking back. The engine started after a short delay that felt endless. As I drove, I saw movement between the trees and the mirror, slow and steady, watching us leave. Sean was never found. The official report said he got lost. No one searched long enough to find anything else. Leon survived, but he is not the same. He panics when someone calls his name from behind. Once he told me he heard his own voice calling to him while he was hiding. I think about how calmly it sat with us, how patient it was. Whatever took Sean learned enough, and it knows how to wait. I'm sure it will attack again, but not me.